Sports Report's 66th live podcast. I am John Stellman. We're rejoined by Vince Morales. Glad to have Vince back.
Glad to be back.
And old reliable John Adams, who is going to bail on us here in January and February. Mm-hmm. But he's here right now, so that's good. We got a lot to talk about tonight, leading with the Trojans. Their very respectable performance against Notre Dame, the vote of confidence and the assurance that Clay Helton will be back. We'll talk about the Bruins. David Shaw thinks he likes what he sees with some of the things that Chip Kelly is doing. We'll get into that. Look at the top four for the Bowl Championship playoffs. Phillip Rivers with just an incredible game. I don't even know where to start on that one. The Rams, we'll talk about them. They're starting to get healthy. Looks like they might have everybody back but Cooper Kupp. Chance there that the Rams, some people are saying the Rams can win out and still not have home field. So we'll look at that. Clippers a half game behind the Golden State Warriors. Lakers playing tonight at Denver. LeVar Ball has resurfaced, unfortunately. Look at the Kings and the Ducks. Tiger versus Phil. And the Dodgers, who are in the news today with Kenley Jansen and the hiring of Dino Ebel as their third base coach. So let's get started with the Trojans. Vinny back. He didn't have a chance to discuss the team the last couple of weeks. I'm sure he's got a lot of saved up comments. What did you think of the game against Notre Dame?
You know, we were talking about that a little bit off the air. You know, John was going, "Wow, what a gutty performance against a number 3 team in the nation." And watching the game, I thought it was a pretty. That's a very good Notre Dame team. That's not a number 3 team in the nation. That's a really, it's a proven. This is not just a bad luck USC team that's had injuries. It's a poorly coached, poorly disciplined team that Notre Dame struggled with and was down at the half against. And not all of that was because of great efforts. There's two ways to look at it, and I have friends on both sides. Some of my alumni USC alumni friends say, wow, our talent is just as good as the number 3 team in the nation. And I thought it was, and maybe that's a top 10 talent team in USC, maybe, but I didn't quite see it that way. I think that's a Notre Dame team that's going to have some problems in the playoffs. I think that's a Notre Dame team that is a little overinflated. And again, you just don't know. They don't have a conference. An Alabama is in the SEC, or a Clemson in the ACC, or a Stanford or Washington in the Pac-12. So it's really hard to gauge that team. I looked at it and I thought that was a poor performance by Notre Dame. I didn't think until the second half when the adjustments were made and then Brian Kelly outcoached Clay Helton, and it was very, very clear.
More of a bad performance by Notre Dame than a good performance by USC?
I think so, and I don't think that's the across-the-board unanimous opinion of everybody. Mm-hmm. There are plenty of USC fans that are looking for the silver lining, right? It's like there's a lot of crap in this room. I better start shoveling. There's got to be a pony under here somewhere, right, with all of this crap. I'm not totally of that belief yet. There looked like some talent on that team, but it's completely undisciplined. In game, 11 or game 12, as he did in game 1 and 2. Mm-hmm. Not too many moments of brilliance from him. Some good ones, but he missed a guy in the end zone. That's on him. That's a young thing. But just. Again, they've scored 10 points in the last 3 second halves of games down the stretch. It's not a good team. It's not a coach team. I think the talent is overrated on that team. So I look at Notre Dame and it's like I'm fading them. If I'm betting them, I'm fading them in the playoffs.
Yeah, and I think they were par for the course. I mean, I don't understand how you can play good and competitive football in the first half and then just completely disappear in the second half. And it was par for the course. They did it again against Notre Dame. I am 100% people that we have to listen to in the media that is more or less the Midwest East that is going to tell you that they're underrated, that they've been competitive in every game. They've played, very good in high level games. Their offensive line and defensive line are great. But I don't know if it was like the Chargers football game where they played down to their opponent. I don't know if it was one of those kind of situations. I know Kelly came off and said, "Oh, that offense was firing today, and we were lucky to be able to leave here with a victory." But I agree. I watched Clemson and I watched Alabama, and I'm like, there is nobody that's good. You might as well just go put those guys in the final, unless a Georgia gets hot, and upsets Alabama maybe a couple times. But and I don't know what Oklahoma has no defense, so I don't know if they're going to slide in there. But when it comes to what's 1 and 2 in my mind, and I tell you, I watched the end of that Clemson game. They're up by 15 or whatever, and they go and score with no seconds on the clock. Like they don't take knees. They just, there's a lot of great athletes on that Clemson team and on the Alabama team, and even if Georgia beats them, this weekend, I have a feeling that Alabama's going to stay in the top 4. But getting back to the USC game, I know I've kind of ventured off there, but I agree with you, Vince. It was just an okay Notre Dame. Yes, do they belong? Then yeah, they're undefeated. They belong in the top 4, but I think they're tier 2 to those 2 teams that are ahead of them.
I don't think they're in the same class, and I may be proven wrong. And trust me, as an SC fan who wants, I hope that Notre Dame runs a table, and we look at that USC team and say, yeah, maybe it was just some bad coaching. There's a good side and a bad side to that, because it's like they kept the guy who is the maestro of that, right? Maybe he can, maybe he can recruit, right? Well, it's not him; it's the other guys, and most of them got blown out today.
Yeah,
most of those guys that were getting out and sitting on the couches and bringing those recruits in, they're gone. They're gone. So Lynn Swann is absolutely clueless. To keep Helton and blow other people out. And they were alluding to this. He was alluding to this. He alluded to this 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Clay Helton alluded to it 2 weeks ago, which was, well, look at the model of Notre Dame. They were 4-8 and they're right back in the playoffs. That's our model. That's what we can be there too, right? So the subtext of that was, I get to stay, and they were going to blow out everybody else out. And it was very clear that Swann had made his mind up weeks ago, and they were trying to sell the narrative of, we're just like Notre Dame. We're going to blow out everybody but the head coach. Clay Helton ain't no Brian Kelly.
Why do the Trojans get outcoached every game in the second half?
Yeah.
They play a good first half. They lead, usually going into the locker room. Other coaches obviously make adjustments at halftime. Can't Clay Helton see what they've done and make his adjustments?
A good coach should. Let's not forget that, this is the aw shucks West. Right? Ever in his life. That's who we bequeathed this blue blood program to, right? So I'm not surprised that he can't coach in the second half, and that after games, during interviews, it just galls me and other alumni to listen to him kind of do this aw shucks. Well, we just, like, he doesn't get it. He should be pissed. He should be pissed. We didn't execute. I got out coached. I got to do a better job. I mean, he always takes responsibility, but it's sort of in this, they're a pretty good team. They made the right adjustments. Oh, the Bruins were really good about working the 2 tight ends. And it's like, I don't want to hear why they were good. And it's the same thing when we get to David Shaw talking about UCLA. It's like, if I'm the guy who at Stanford, 42 on them and almost beats them, that's still a 3-9 team. They may be on a trajectory up, and they may be doing some things right, but that talent is terrible. And so if David Shaw, shame on you for making excuses or by trying to pump up the competition. Sure, he's doing better things, but none of those guys are going to be there helping that UCLA team try to, win a South title next year. He's cleaning house, and he's finding out, he's playing all these young guys, he's finding out who he can use, and the rest are gone. So
we talked about last week. We talked about Clay Helton, and I made it very clear I didn't think he should be back. John kind of was maybe for one more year, and Jake thought he should be back.
Well, Jake's a Notre Dame fan, so I can see why he wants him back.
Yeah, but
a lot of it. Sorry to interrupt, but a lot of it had to do exactly what Vince. He doesn't do anything shady.
Right.
They have no president. They have a bunch of lawsuits behind there, and I have a feeling that they're going to bring in an offensive coordinator that is possibly an old head coach and say, all right, here's the deal. Clay, you're 1-3, and when you're 1-3, you're fired, and we're going to bring these two guys on to coach off the rest of the year.
So they blew out the whole staff today.
Yeah.
Most of it. Clancy Pendergast is back.
Okay.
The defensive coordinator,
Yeah.
but
he
but
lost
T. Martin,
3 defensive coaches, I
but
think, today.
but T. Martin, who is was the offensive
Your
coordinator,
favorite,
who was
yeah.
the grocery checker, is gone. He's he was let go. Udeze, who was the defensive line coach, is gone. Their defensive back coach is gone. Their wide receiver coach and quarterback, actually, their coach, Western Kentucky, so they're blowing everybody out. There's been I'll say this about the alumni and the reaction on social media. The reaction is that the optics of this are not good for the Trojans. That these are 3 of African American coaches who have been blown out. And here it is. The Tuesday massacre, right? And it's a lot of middle-aged white guys that are still coaching. And at USC, middle-aged white guys are not the guys that are going into those urban households. Not the ones that are sitting there and having dinner with them and talking to them on the phone and calling them and recruiting them. They're just not. That's not a Clancy Pendergast thing, and so most of those guys are gone. And I'm not sure what Swan is thinking. And if the rumors are to be believed, the fact that he gave him an extension when there were no other teams looking for him,
yeah,
right?
Exactly.
He's a first-time head coach, right? Who stumbled, he was born on third base, thought he hit a triple, right? And here he is at USC, and the head coaching job falls in his lap. Nobody wanted him. Nobody was going to come and try and steal Clay Helton from us. He didn't need to give him an extension.
Exactly.
And there didn't need to be a $15 million buyout. And if that is true, Lynn Swan should be fired for malfeasance. As soon as there's a president and it's put in there, if that's true, if there's a $15 million buyout on Clay Helton, who's never had a head coaching job, Lynn Swan should be fired for that alone, for striking that deal alone.
This doesn't help their recruiting either.
No.
Who's going into the houses now? I mean, if they hired guys to replace, I didn't.
There's nobody been hired. No, nobody's been hired. Nobody's been elevated. It's just they cleaned house. And the only thing that we've heard any kind of rumors is that Cliff Kingsbury from Texas Tech, air raid offense, who's kind of an offensive genius who didn't translate well at Texas Tech, who was let go there, that he's in town and that he might be interviewing for the OC job.
I think Swan and Helton should both be out the door.
But again, somebody has given Lynn Swan the blank check. doesn't know any better. But the sooner the Trojans get a president who understands that Nobel Prizes and chemistry professors don't pay the bills, the football program pays the bills for your university. This is not Dartmouth. This is not Tulane. This is USC. And it should be a blue blood football program, and it's not. It's being sort of run into the ground by morons. Hayden. I was joking with somebody about this, that I think Hayden spent so much time with the Domers that he was like a spy, like a turncoat. He came in, he ruined the program, and left it in disarray.
Yeah,
and
he was a color column.
Lynn Swan, who was a mediocre announcer at best and a terrible gubernatorial candidate in Pennsylvania, do what he's doing.
Yeah, I don't know where they understand where they're coming across that ex-athletes that have been professional football players that have never been, in the business before, all of a sudden are perfect for the positions. You know what? Go get some guys that have turned programs around, the little ones. I'm just gonna the Tulanes or whatever, and make them, great quality programs like, I don't know, maybe University of Central Florida. That guy. I don't know, but grab those guys and or lower tier kind of strong D1s and go get those guys. Don't go get an ex-athlete or ex. And I'm not saying that these ex-athletes are not smart guys. I mean, it's just, they're not coming from the business. They're coming straight from the field and retirement
or the boardroom. Hayden, he had his. But he was in the broadcast booth for a number of years. He may have sat on some boards, just like Lynn Swan sat on the boards of like Heinz, whatever, ketchup. He was more Pennsylvania than he was Southern California, and probably should have stayed there. But we lured him out, and I just don't know. I don't know. I'm not one of those guys who looks at, wow, this is great, our lacrosse team. We finally have a women's lacrosse team, and they're pretty good. And our soccer team, made it to the Final Four last year. We're not,
not where the money
all
comes
of these
from.
things, these Title IX things. That's great and all, but any athletic director worth their salt who has any kind of experience at all could do that for you. But it takes a very special person to be able to take Lynn Swan.
Well, Helton never had any head coaching experience. Swan's never had any AD experience.
None.
So,
Zero.
And you're asking him to run a top 15 program in the nation.
Right, exactly.
It's like when like this big oil company or big company, just hands it over to the next generation of kids, right? Right, that maybe that next generation of kids can figure it out because they were really close to the dad. But then the grandkids are just a bunch of knuckleheads, right? And they run it into the ground. Right. Hayden and Swan have been terrible for the program, and I'm not sure that there was an easy slam dunk coach who they could have gone out and selected to replace Helton. I think that this is really simplistic. That Swan looks at Helton, thinks he's a nice guy, thinks he runs a doesn't recruit the kids who are going to be problems, and he thinks that that's okay for now. And with let me tell you, maybe he thinks that because this is one of those years where there's cranes and construction going on, and I got a picture of it. The seats where I sat for the USC Notre Dame game, they're cracked. They're awful. Unless they're ripping out all the seats in there, that's still 100-year-old stadium that you're just putting the dress on a pig. It's wonderful. It's fantastic. But I looked at the LA Football Club, the bank right next door, and it's gorgeous. And you look at that and you just think, my God. The Coliseum still looks like crap compared to that. Yeah. So when you've got a shiny new,
That's the soccer stadium?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's gorgeous. I don't know.
important. I think the key here is, like John said, who they bring in as the offensive coordinator. If they're going to bring in a head coach in waiting, that I would like
a bullpen.
Yeah,
Cliff Kingsbury. Yeah.
Yeah.
If they're willing to pay if they're willing to pay a coordinator $3 million, then you're just shoving more money into the pot, because what you're still looking at is a buyout. Because let's be straight, that's where it's going, right?
Yeah.
Clay Helton is not going to turn. He's not Brian Kelly, and he's not going to turn this program around. He's just not. And again, I got a buddy who's was in human resources, and he says, somebody does something wrong, you don't always fire them for what they did right there. Get worse.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
And I think it's going to get worse.
Do you want to talk about looks like the latest poll came out for the top 4 for the bowl championship.
Did it? I haven't seen it.
Alabama 1, Clemson 2, Notre Dame 3, Georgia 4.
Yeah.
Oklahoma 5.
Georgia jumped Oklahoma.
Oklahoma 5, Ohio State 6.
So Oklahoma was
4. Or were they 3?
I thought they were 5.
5, okay.
And Georgia was 6. Was that what it used to be? Or
I don't think Georgia jumped, but I don't remember what the CFP rankings were.
I know the Georgia and Oklahoma. I just didn't know who was 5 and who was 6. So
yeah,
Oklahoma. I mean, that's
Oklahoma
what
gave up 55, I guess, to West Virginia, right? In that win.
Mm-hmm.
And it's see, I don't like what's happening this weekend. Oklahoma's going to play Texas again. For their championship.
Yeah.
I heard something, and I don't want to go off on a whole nother tangent, but I heard an interesting point on these playoffs, that you get rid of all of these championship games, and this weekend 1 would play 8, 2 would play 7.
Yeah, that's fine.
3 would play 6, 5 would play 4, and it would be going on right now, and eliminate from that point on. And it would been quite interesting, because what it would be, I think it might be UCF playing Alabama, you know what I mean, and going from that point on. And
yeah.
I was actually for something like different like that.
It's interesting
because you got Utah playing Washington, right? Is that what it is? Yeah. So it's not really a big wow game. Oklahoma, Texas is going to be the good game. Georgia, Alabama will be a good game, right? I don't know.
I've always sort of been against expanding the playoff. I don't look from one year and say, there's some teams that are really close. So the UCF undefeated, that number 8. God, I wish they could play. I've never been like that. But I could be sold on something like, let's get rid of the championship games, right? Mm-hmm. Play more games so that teams aren't, Bama's not playing the freaking Citadel in week 13, right?
Exactly.
Nonsense like that, or some other.
That was 10-10 and a half.
Yeah, some other directional school. It's like, so I could fall in line with that, but a couple things have to happen. If just because the alumni like to drink wine in the Bay Area one time a year.
Yeah, that's true.
They just can't. It's stupid. It's a stupid reason to have it, right? It's a stupid reason to sort of divide it that way, right? So the Trojans get to skip UW this year, and that's fine because they're in the North, but they play 2 North teams every year because we want to sip Chardonnay. It's just moronic. And freaking Notre Dame's got to get a conference.
I agree.
So if we expand it and we go the Power 5 conferences, whoever is the champ however you get your champ. If you want to play a championship game, that's fine. However you get your champ, take the 5, 3 at large, I'm fine.
And the football team's the only sport, is that correct, at Notre Dame that doesn't have a...
That's correct.
Yeah. Basketball's in the East, right? Big East.
Yeah.
So I agree with you. I agree with you there.
Let's go to Phillip Rivers, who had an uncanny 25 completions in a row, 28 out of 29. He's found the fountain of youth. He really has. Of course, now he's not playing against one of the tougher defenses in the NFL, but still, I mean, that's an incredible streak to go on.
Yeah, I'm not gonna.
They've been great.
Yeah, again, how you down talk your Trojans. I'm gonna down talk the Chargers. Yeah, they played another sub 500 team, and he should be able to do that kind of stuff against. I'm not saying 25 in a row. That was exceptional, but where was that against Denver? Right? Obviously Denver's got a better confidence booster for us. It's great to see Bosa back. We start where you can tell that we're missing Perryman in the middle. Ingram needs to get healthier. We lose Gordon though, which is bad. And now you don't have that 3 down back. So you got Eckler that, he's a little scrappy kind of guy, but he's not a 3 down back. So now you got guys that Newsome and Jackson that are going to have to fill that role to kind of help Eckler out. So you think he's throwing it a lot last week? You watch, he's going to keep chucking
against Pittsburgh, yeah,
because it's the only way they're going to be able to move the ball. But Bosa had a sack. Looks like he's getting into form. So yeah, it was a good win. But again, another win to a team that's under 500 and probably one of the worst teams in the league.
Right.
So I'm looking to the Sunday. Next 4 games three of the next 4 games are true tests. They've got at Pittsburgh. They are home against Cincinnati, which thank goodness Dalton's out now, and so that could be a win right there. Then they go to Kansas City, right? The second best team or third best team in the league. And then they finish at home against Baltimore, who's starting to figure it out, right? So their next, they could either, I'd love a 2-2. I'll take 2-2 and make the playoffs and go from there. But it wouldn't surprise me if they puked all over themselves and went 1-3.
What the heck is Gordon doing in the ball game in the third quarter when you're ahead by 3 scores and you got Pittsburgh coming up? What is?
Well, I mean, I could see that.
Why?
Right? But I could see if it was the beginning of the fourth quarter, I could totally understand that.
That wasn't Hofstra across the way from him. So I mean, in the third quarter, I'm okay with that. But like John says, if that's late third with 3, like
or
2 minutes left in the or the beginning of the fourth,
Yeah.
and then I've got a problem with it. Phillip Rivers was sensational, and he has been sensational all year. And if ever there was a time for Charger fans to sort of look and say, "Wow, he is." At this age, to be doing what he's doing, I didn't expect it. I absolutely didn't expect it. He's just been fabulous.
And they're 0-1. So they're 0-2 against teams that are at their record. So lost to Kansas City. It was 9-2. Or they've lost 2, right? They lost to
They've
the
lost
Rams. Lost to the Rams, right? So and then the bad loss against Denver. But the 2 teams that are up in the top 5, they've lost to. And Pittsburgh I thought was a surprise win by Denver. I thought Pittsburgh was going in the right direction. So maybe we're catching them on a kind of a lull, right? But Pittsburgh at home is going to be really tough to win. And, they went up into a hostile environment in Seattle and they beat them. And that's a team that I don't think you want to play right now is Seattle. So hopefully, they've actually played pretty good on the road. So hopefully he can take this confidence and they can take this confidence. But I really think one of these kids is going to have to step up and run the football for him because, I don't know if they're going to just go ahead and say, look, you're going to have to beat me with the run. When we're gonna, stack it in the back and make you make mistakes. So to say, "Yep, they're here to win," or "Doesn't surprise me," you know. So.
Rams had a nice bye, which they needed after that explosion against
Yeah, I think
Kansas
they were just
City.
tired.
Yeah. They're getting most of their guys back. That looks good. They
I think you get Talib back next week.
God, I hope so.
Yeah, I think he's
Because
coming
Peter's
back.
been dreadful.
Yeah,
once they get him back in position,
Yeah.
if they can
I think
with
Talib.
Talib back,
I think I heard today that Talib's
make
Yeah.
a
got a
difference.
good
Yeah.
chance at playing. I don't know if he's going to play the whole game, but he'll play.
he
some
should
of the
play
game.
some minutes. Rams have got on the their rest of their schedules. They play at Detroit, the Bears, and let's see. Oh, I know they have home games against the Eagles and the Niners, which Arizona they play. I think they play at Arizona.
Yeah, they do.
But the only the Bears might be the only
I
toughie in
can't
that
wait
bunch.
to see this offense versus that defense.
Yeah, that's
actually
gonna be
a really
fun.
Good defense. So that's going to be a fun game to watch. I don't think the Bears are going to be able to move the ball too much against the Rams. But I really those linebackers, the DB are really good there in Chicago. So I'm curious to see how that transpires.
Yeah, and Khalil Mack,
Yeah,
Yeah.
just crazy.
ridiculously good.
Yeah, next to Donald. I mean, he's right there. As one of the.
Yeah.
And Watt.
The Saints have what could be a tough game coming up Thursday
The Saints got a
against the
tougher-
Cowboys.
Yeah, the Saints got the tougher schedule.
So Dallas could create some problems for them.
I just don't think Dallas can keep up with them.
Oh, that might
Yeah,
be.
I mean,
too.
offensively,
I just don't think they can keep up with them.
I'm with you.
But a team like you just the one is that you can't figure out is you don't know what you're going to get every week with Carolina. That's a tough one there, But again, you're facing Pittsburgh. I think Pittsburgh is going to be good. I mean, I don't know. They're kind of a week to week team. So, but I just think that the whole Bell thing has just been a nightmare for the Pittsburgh.
Jeez.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to that rematch. If this Rams can just take care of their business and the Saints just take care of it. I don't care if it's back in New Orleans. Are just so good, and I think that was just a blip on the radar. They had some injuries and
Yeah,
there were some
thinking everybody
gaps
healthy. Thinking everybody healthy going into New Orleans for the NFC Championship game. They'll be just fine. I think they'll just
there. Absolutely, I'm take care of business, get to that, and it doesn't matter whether you've lost home field advantages because you lost to them in week whatever 8 or 9 or whatever the hell it was.
The Clippers are half game behind the Warriors. The team that nobody.
Who knew?
Well, I've actually forced myself to watch a little bit of Clipper basketball. That Tobias Harris he's the real deal. Guy is a good player, and another thing too is Gallinari has not been hurt this year. He's been hurt the last 2 years. Well, and like you say, they need a face of the franchise, which they still don't have.
Yeah.
But they.
And that's kind of what I like about the Clippers right now is like
who are they?
you don't have to have the face of the franchise
Right.
to be leading, the West. So it's I kind of like that, Now it's not good for marketing and getting people in the seats, but it's LA. You win, they'll come, right? Type of deal. So, I just and maybe I'm wrong here, but it's like one of the only teams that's out there that's gelling as a team. Not
Yes.
a bunch of individuals,
Yes.
right? Because there's not this one guy that's better than the other one when it comes to, image and cockiness. It looks like he got them all, and you never know what you can get at the trade deadline. You might be able to get some help, like Philly just did with,
Butler.
yeah. So that everybody thought, oh, they don't have a big name on that deal on the roster. They're never going to be there. And here's Doc got them all working together and playing together and and a little bit of depth on the bench and Sweet Lou, so
yeah, Beverly.
Yeah, Beverly playing good defense.
Yeah, it's a good team. I don't know where they're going to be at the end of the year. There's always injuries. Somebody's going to get hurt. There's going to be an imbalance somewhere. When somebody starts winning on the road and putting a little distance between themselves, if the Clippers start winning on the road, because nobody's winning on the road. I mean, if you just look down nobody's winning on the road except on the other side, which is, Toronto, I think is, they're absolutely not. What are they, 9-2 on the road? It's crazy, right? Nobody's winning on the grinders. They got a lot of guys that can disrupt you defensively. They've got, Sweet Lou, who can absolutely light it up. I mean, he's always been a tremendous scorer. And, they're going to be right there. They're going to hang around. But, Golden State needs, somebody, once you put the smelling salts under their nose,
they say Cousins is
pretty
close to coming back. Yeah, and they'll get Steph Curry back. I heard a stat maybe a week or so ago that Williams was number 4 in point scoring in the fourth quarter. And he's not even a starter, but LeBron was 1. I forgot who 2 and 3 were, but he had the 4th highest total of points in the fourth quarter. And that's a huge help when a guy like that can, come. Lakers, you got a Lakers score there?
Yeah, it's 9-9.
Oh, just started. Okay. I'm never going to get over it until they start making their free throws. The Lakers have been this way for decades. That game they lost at Orlando, to Orlando at home, they lost by 4 points. They missed 11 free throws.
Right. Yeah.
They're the worst in the league, and they were worst last year. They're the worst this year.
Well, they're 25th.
Oh, 25th. They've moved up.
Yeah. They're 25th in free throw percentage.
But they've got to.
It's one of those teams where you look at it and you go, well, their 3-point shooting has improved, right? Because it's funny because they got LeBron so that the other guys could sort of stretch the floor and LeBron could dish it and they could shoot better from 3. But he's the one shooting better from 3. It's King James and a bunch of little runts. Nobody has wanted to step up. And that's what I keep asking myself is like, I don't know. And I don't know if this is a knock on Luke or what, or if it's the players, right? That Luke is looking for somebody to assert themselves, to elevate themselves. Guy, yeah. Because I never know who's going to be in the fourth quarter. I just don't know. I know that most likely it's not going to be Ball. Do you know how many minutes he played in the fourth quarter last night?
0.
Really?
None. He didn't play in the fourth.
Yeah.
I don't understand that.
I don't understand that because he's at 17.
He's better than LeBron. He's a terrible free throw shooter. I get that.
Right.
But Luke afterwards said, "Well, we had KCP in. I liked his energy. He brought some things, and then I was going to put Ball back in, but KCP was doing some things good, so I left him in." I don't think KCP's the guy we need to keep happy and energized. They need to find their number 2. Who's the number 2? Because there was a game where Lonzo Ball surprised me, right? He was driving to the bucket. He was finishing at the goal, right? He was making good decisions. And they didn't know what to do with him, right? And they ended up winning. It was a great game. It was the game. I think it was the game on the road after the Cavaliers when he was terrific.
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
he was just terrific, and now he's absent. He's MIA in the fourth quarter, at home.
Yeah,
I don't understand that.
I think it helps.
You know that he's 8th in minutes, fourth quarter minutes on the team. 8th.
I think I have 7 better players.
Okay, Josh Hart has played 40 more minutes in the fourth quarter than Lonzo Ball.
Is that because he shoots better?
I think that Ball could be a really disruptive defensive guy. I think he loses interest sometimes, and he makes some. But the rest of them are turning the ball over. I mean, Ball has, with less minutes, he's got more assists and fewer turnovers, right?
Right. Yeah, that's true.
Than the rest of those guys. He needs to be elevated, and the only way to do that is to give him fourth quarter minutes.
Well, Walton's got to figure out his rotation too. He can't. These guys can't come to the the Staples Center every night not knowing
they don't
what their roles are, and
they don't. Oh God, how long has it been since Ingram played?
Yeah.
And wait a minute, how come Kuzma didn't play this fourth quarter? It's different every time, and as a fan, that's frustrating because I remember growing up, and again, it's a positionless basketball, and it's sort of playing by feel. It's like no, you get the, and again, the thing that I hate the most about watching the Lakers down the stretch, at least earlier in the season, is the ball would just stop. So all of the stuff that they were doing great at penetrating, drive, draw, dish,
right,
and moving the ball and getting it down court and outletting it, it all just comes to a screeching halt in the fourth quarter. And then these teams start clawing their way back in, and everybody's sort of looking to LeBron. And then the ball just deflates, right? Just deflates.
Right.
LeBron is ball stopping, and it's not his fault. It's because nobody else wants the ball. And that's got to change, and that's on.
We're talking now about how can LeBron and what's the other guy?
Ingram
get together when they're both on the court at the same time, because Ingram wants the ball. Obviously, LeBron has to have the ball, and they say Ingram just kind of drops his shoulders and loses interest when he knows he's not going to get the ball.
I think we talked about that the game where he took a swing. That there was frustration there early in the season. I think he's been able to temper it a little bit, but I feel like he's frustrated. He wants the ball more.
Mm-hmm.
I think all of that. The idea of playing with LeBron James is a lot better for a kid like a Hart and a Lonzo Ball. Brandon Ingram. But if you could get somebody for him that fits a little bit better, I'm all for it. It may be one of the worst decisions the Lakers make, but we need to win right now. I'm not going to wait around till the end of this LeBron contract to see if these kids develop. And somebody wrote that do the Lakers have time to let Lonzo Ball and Brandon Ingram develop at the same time? And I think the answer is no. They don't.
Yeah.
They don't. LeBron's not going to wait around.
Well,
for that.
Magic's not patient either. He's not going to wait around for
But the team is 10th in 3-point shooting. They're 5th in field goal percentage. They get a lot of high percentage shots. They just turn the ball over. They're 26th in turnover.
A lot of free points.
Yeah.
I think I mentioned earlier, maybe before we went on the air, that LeVar's resurfaced.
Yeah.
He now claims that LaMelo, at 17 years old, is better than LeBron James was at 17 years old, which
I'd love to see the facts.
Well, look. He's
he's got to get back in there.
People's parents say lots of nice things about their kids, right? And it doesn't. You should see Susie dance. She's really great. And then you go watch her, and she's tripping all over her feet. It's just So, look, if somebody wants to objectively say he takes more outside shots, he's a better outside shooter than LeBron James was at 17, I might say maybe, because I remember watching some of those high school games. of the way.
Yeah.
Right? Or, so he just didn't need to. Or he got fouled and he hit a bunch of free throws and he hit a few outside shots. But he wasn't an outside shooter. He developed that as an 18-year-old coming into the pros. So if that's the nonsense, he wants to throw this big blanket over it that he's better than LeBron, it's nonsense. And we all know it's nonsense. But for the sake of argument, if you want to say, is he perhaps – I haven't seen him play. I have no idea whether he is or not. Maybe he is a better outside shooter than LeBron was at that age. But there was more to LeBron's game than this kid. LeBron had more talent in his headband than this kid.
Yeah.
So,
John, how about Tiger versus Phil?
I paid the 20. And I'm glad I did. I'm glad I didn't have to sit all the way up there at the club the whole entire time to watch that the golf. I thought it was. I thank God it was only $20. I thought it was poor golf. I like how it kind of started off, but then it got really serious on the back nine. Not a lot of communication. Either winning with bogey or with pars.
the worst part was when they pulled all the cars up to put their headlights on the greens.
Then, they finished on creating a 93-yard hole that went 22 holes. Now there was a lot of par putts that were given. Like Tiger and Phil had a couple 4 or 5 footers for par, and I like that they said, I'm not going to win with you making bogey from 93 yards. Let's just keep going back to the tee because they live. It did show me that Tiger is a terrible player from 93 yards. So, I don't know. I just that Phil tried to get some stuff going, and just Tiger's just not that kind of guy.
No, he's not.
He's very frugal with his money. I remember there was one time on a par 5, he says close to the hole on our second shots from for $200,000. Well, Phil's like, you're 40 yards ahead of me. Why? Like, that's not fair. He goes, give me 3-1 odds. No. He goes, okay, give me 3-2 odds. Nope. And you're like, Tiger, you're playing for $9 million. It's not even your money. What's $200,000 to you? It's a 240-yard shot.
Right.
It needs to be a little bit more relaxed. I'm wondering if $9 million was too much to play for. And you could hear him breathing. I'm like, are you really nervous? Or are you out of shape? Or is there elevation? Like, what's going on? And, Phil's, it's obvious. Phil's a gambler, right? He likes, and Tiger's very frugal with his money. So it wasn't, I don't know if it was a good mix.
Even if it's,
maybe it's a one-hit wonder, and maybe they want to continue this. I think they should lower the purse, to maybe $1 or $2 million and let them be a little bit more cocky. And now and by saying that, I don't know if Tiger and Phil's your guy. Maybe you go Ricky and Justin Thomas, or I don't know what you do. But if you're going to bring something like this back, there needs to be a little bit more shop talk, a little bit more stuff going on. And I had heard that the PGA Tour got involved, and they're like, hey, we don't like the whole gambling thing going on. That's why it's going to charity. So they got they put their claws on it a little bit. I read the next day, but it was okay. It was just okay. And maybe it would have been better if they both would have shot like 500 par, but they didn't. I don't even know if they broke par. To be honest with you,
I think we texted about this a little bit. I mean, when you have like a big fight, right? And you've got the main event, you've got all these fights on the undercard, right? And so you get fired up for the main event, right? And then if the main event falls flat, you go, well, at least there was those 2 featherweights in the undercard. That was a pretty good fight. They were just beating the crap out of each other. Maybe this could benefit from having an undercard, a couple of youngsters going at it, or a couple of foreign guys, going at it. Good
idea.
Maybe throw the LPGA a day of it.
I do like that there should be some fun golf thing. I'm so used to the skins game. I like that, and have something like that on the Friday after Thanksgiving. I think it's great. I don't mind Vegas. That golf course was phenomenally. It was gorgeous. And having it maybe in Vegas because that's a great place to go, or Palm Desert, Arizona, or whatever to grab the people to go. I'm all for something different.
But John, as a guy who's played on both sides, playing for money and for fun, right? There's a difference between the whispers. Here he is sizing up the putt, and the kind of game that you go and you play with a guy in the middle of the week, right? The guy's in the middle of the week when it's best ball, or you're doing this and you've got money on this, that, or the other thing. It's got a different feel. Been fun, but then it sort of wasn't fun, and
I mean even Phil came out like on the 10th hole or 11th hole, and he just looked at Tiger and goes, I'm trying to communicate here. I'm trying to, but Tiger wasn't. He's like, yeah, it is what it is.
Too serious, huh?
Yeah. By the way, once they got to I think it was the 13th hole. By the way, Charles Barkley was the best part of the whole thing. Charles Barkley, when they started getting tweets from players, from PGA players, and even professional athletes were tweeting, say they were watching it. This is going to be great. Barkley's like, after about 6 holes, he goes, "These guys suck. Like, they're terrible. Like, and
they're
terrible. About him and his golf swing. He's
they're
like,
terrible.
I could beat these guys, right?" And then all of a sudden, Verlander comes on it. Verlander goes, "Charles, I'll bet you $100,000 you can't make." When we showing up, he goes, "Look at me, I'm taking crap from a guy that only works 1 day a week." Like, all this kind of stuff started. I'm like, this is the best part.
I'm taking crap
going
from
back and forth with
somebody.
Verlander, and that took over the whole. They had Samuel Jackson on the board on the deal, and they had Pat Perez. Pat Perez was voicing his opinion. He's like, "What's going on here, boys? Let's." Like right after I lost that hole, if I lost $100,000 on $200,000 on the first hole because that was the first bet,
right?
That Phil would make birdie, and he hit it 9 feet and just missed it. Perez is like, I'm gambling. Let's go. What are we doing on the second hole? What are we doing on the third hole? What do we do? Like, let's keep going.
Exactly.
And it just didn't happen that way.
Right. If I want to watch,
I don't know if they were told something like,
right.
"Hey, look I don't want you got to go over like $800,000, $900,000." Like, I don't know if they were told that, but I'll tell you, right after a par 3, where Tiger and his 205-yard par 3. So these guys were hitting 6 or 5 irons. Tiger hit it 18 feet, and Phil hit it like 12. So that was like, whoa, like that was great. So we get to 17, and Phil's got a 1-shot lead on him. He's one up,
right?
And it's a par 3 that's, I don't know, 135 yards, but all over water. There was no gambling at all. None whatsoever. No like, hey, $200,000 for closest to. It was all like, oh my God, I'm one up and I'm playing for $9 million. And you could cut the tension with a knife. And then Tiger chipped in, which was awesome. And you went, okay, here we go. 18 is going to be great. And they, I think on 18, they both made par.
10 years ago, that it could have been cool.
Yeah.
I mean, this could have been really, really exciting, right? If I want to watch, millionaire golfers, billionaire golfers, whatever they are, struggle to make, to score, well, just watch a PGA Tour.
Yeah.
I don't understand it. Give me some other incentive to watch this. And again, Tiger is such a chap ass, that if they thought that there was going to be any joking around ribbon and, tension, it's Tiger Woods.
There was a good comeback for Phil. He was on the par 5 where he goes 3-1, and then he says 3-2. And then Tiger looks at him and goes, man, as good as you're hitting it right now, it shouldn't matter that I'm 40 yards ahead of you. And Phil looks at him and goes, I know, it's pretty intimidating. buy it, you know. And I'm like sitting there. I taped it, and I just fast forward through a lot of it. So it was, I don't know. It was just okay. I hope it's like Vince. I hope they I hope they continue.
Right.
I hope they try to find something.
So, yeah.
I don't think you're going to have it in Vegas there. I think it was like that was a one-hit deal. You know, it's a very prestigious place. Only the elite play there. But if they can find somewhere in Arizona or Palm Desert or something like that to get more bodies, because you were very limited on how many people could go out there and walk the fairways. So, but I think Vince is right. There's some type of an undercard or maybe 2 or 3 of these going on at the same time.
Or it's Team Phil versus Team Tiger,
Right,
something.
Yeah.
You know, and they let him coach somebody
Yeah,
up.
exactly.
Let him bet on their buddy. No pressure. Guy on this, just add.
Like they had a $200,000 long drive. They both hit it in the bunker. And so that's a perfect example. They both hit it in the bunker, right? And then you would think they're literally 4 yards from each other. You'd think about like closest to nothing, and you're like, let's go, boys. Everybody wants to see the gambling. Like, let's go. But
Except the PGA, apparently.
yeah,
I guess maybe not the PGA. Let's give a quick look at the Dodgers. They
the Lakers are actually losing by 5 at the end of the first, 30-25, Denver.
against Denver.
Update.
Jansen is fine following that second, what is it, ablation?
Ablation, yeah, an ablation
procedure. Same thing he had after the 2012 season. Says he'll be ready to go. He's looking forward to spring training and hopes to be back to 100% by.
I don't know.
So that at least it's a step in the right direction, and I hope he doesn't have any more. You're talking about a heart here.
Yeah.
You got to be careful. I hope that there's no further problems or anything of a more serious nature develops. Dino Ebel.
I didn't know that. That's great for him.
Who I thought should have gotten. We both thought he should have been interviewed for the Angel job.
Well, apparently it was. It was like a 2-minute interview, apparently.
It was 2 minutes more than I thought.
Yeah, I didn't even. John was saying last week he didn't think anybody except Brad Osmus got interviewed.
Yeah.
I think that was maybe a predestined, because he worked for Epler all year in the analytics field. Yeah, but I'm glad for.
Actually, he came in late. He came in August.
What's that?
Osmus.
Yeah, he did.
Osmus came in late.
Yeah.
I mean, he wasn't even there the whole time. Maybe yeah, but and then the Dodgers also got the hitting guy from the Diamondbacks.
Hitting coach?
Yeah. So I don't know. I can't say his name. I can't even.
Turner
spell
Ward
it.
went to Cincinnati for the. But if I found out that the reason, I mean, like you said, it was just a lateral move, but apparently he has a lot of his family's in Kentucky or something, is right across the.
As a
Turner
good
Ward?
friend of mine who lives in Louisville said, he goes, it's easier to find a flight out of L.A. into Kentucky than it is out of Cincinnati. So,
Yeah.
I'm glad for Dino, though. I always liked Dino. I thought he did a good job as the third base coach, and he's a good bench coach.
I haven't checked into it. Like, has Osmus got all his coaches?
No, he still has.
He has his hitting coach and his pitching coach, right?
And I wonder what happened. Did any of the other social guys get jobs? Griffin,
I don't think
Alfredo
so.
Griffin, or
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if Alfredo even wants to do it anymore. I mean, he's been doing it for so long.
oh yeah, he's probably.
He's like up there with Mike a little bit, right? So just like, go enjoy yourself. Dino never made it as a Major League Baseball player.
No, but he
so-
started in the Dodger organization.
Yeah. Oh, did he?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's good. I'm glad that
I am too. I like
is that Dave making that decision, or is that the organization making that decision, Roberts?
And I think Roberts gets to pick his guys, but the front office always, anoints it. But Roberts gets to pick his guys.
Like I say, I'm glad for Dino, and I'm glad he stays local. And
Machado's going to get that money with the Yankees and where Harper's going to go. So this is going to be quite interesting.
I think the winter meetings,
for us.
the winter meetings is just a couple of weeks away now. I think December.
Yeah.
That's where we should get some.
Yeah, they had like the GM meetings, and then the winter meetings are coming up.
Yeah.
You think Cleveland? Harper's I guess he married into an Ohio State family. Think he'll be? Think Cleveland's got that kind of money?
Maybe.
I think they're both waiting for the other one to go first.
Yeah.
See what see what the
I
bar is.
Yeah, I'm gonna get more out of Harper, I think, than I am Machado. I don't know about you. You think?
If you strip away all the personality issues, absolutely Machado. I'm team Machado.
Are you?
Oh yeah.
Talent wise.
Yeah. I don't need a corner outfielder. Fielder, okay, but this is a guy who can play shortstop. He can play third. I mean, he's a Gold Glove. He's a phenomenal talent. As far as I'm concerned, Machado should get more money than Harper.
Yeah.
He might not because he's not. He talks too much, right?
So does Harper a little bit, doesn't he?
Yeah, but I think. Yeah, I don't know. I corner outfielders are a little easier to come by than Gold Glove shortstops and Gold Glove third baseman.
He's got. I would agree with you there that talent wise, I don't think there's any comparison. Machado can do more, like you say, play more positions. He hit better. Harper didn't hit that well last year.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's going to come around. I mean, he's going to get a big contract somewhere.
Oh, yeah.
I think that Machado's just an exceptional talent.
Do we hear anything about Seager's progression as far as his hip replacement?
Nothing. I don't think we're going to know. I don't think we're going to see Kenley or Seager in spring training much.
No, I wouldn't suspect so.
So we won't know that. I don't think we're going to know that till April about where he's at really.
Yeah, I don't think he's not going to. I doubt that he'll be there. He won't be there opening day. I wouldn't think.
I wouldn't think so. Yeah. I'm not holding out much hope for that.
Your Orange County high school football team won the
Mater Dei beat St. John Bosco
in the battle for the state championship again.
And I was talking to my brother actually the other day, and because of the smoke. Round of the playoffs for football, so they're at least 2 weeks behind up there. So I don't know if there's going to be a state championship, where Mater Dei plays De La Salle or anything like that.
It's Cerritos. It's going to be at Cerritos.
It is. It is going to happen because that's 3 weeks from now. Then, or
I heard it was what's the 10th? What day of the week is that?
Yeah, so that's 2 weeks from now because they still have to play a semi-final or final game up up there,
right?
Because the smoke was so bad. I talked to my niece who plays soccer, and this Monday was the first time in 2 weeks they were even allowed to go on a field.
Yeah.
It was that thick up in that Walnut Creek area. So, so I guess it is going to go. So it's almost like Mater Dei feels like it's a bowl because what do you usually get 2 to 3 weeks off?
Yeah.
Good to hear. I might try to make it out to see that if that's
10,000.
They played 10 De La Salle, yeah.
Yeah, 10,000 for the 10,500 for
for the St. John Bosco game.
Yeah.
It goes back to like Vista Marietta with San Clemente. San Clemente got their butt handed to them out in Vista Marietta, and they threw 55 on them. They come here, and we beat them in the playoffs.
Right.
Mater Dei gets smoked by St. John Bosco in the middle of the season during league play. So it's hard to beat a team twice in a row.
Absolutely.
So
absolutely,
that's going to be quite interesting how that goes.
And a good seasoned coach.
Yep.
You don't fool me once.
299 wins.
Oh, is he?
For Rollinson, he needs one more. It's amazing. 30 wins. You figure 300 wins. You figure if you win 10 games a year.
completely crazy, but I was wondering if maybe as a quarterbacks coach, you go to the offensive coordinator at Mater Dei for USC to be with JT.
It's
And I don't
just
even
such
know.
a. It's
I don't
just
even know if
such
that
a.
guy's
It's
30
just,
or 60 either. I
It's
don't
just
know.
such a different game that you guys just don't make that leap anymore. You know. I think in the old days it used to be like that. And I think in certain parts of the country where they get 10,000 a game, you know, those types of coaches are coaching at a different level, and I think that happens. It doesn't happen much anymore, you know, where a guy goes from high school to college or junior college into college.
Right.
It just doesn't happen anymore. It's a different game.
All right. If we don't have anything else.
Seems to be coming to a screeching halt. I mean, it's 9 straight games without a point. He's in those last four. Kovalchuk has played 12 minutes, 12 time on the ice, 12 minutes, 16 minutes, 13 minutes, 6 minutes. So he's either hurt, getting old, or the new coach just doesn't.
And that's what
just
hurt
doesn't
the
want
Kings is age and depth is just really hurt them.
Yeah.
And
I told you guys way back that age was gonna hurt them, and now they're trying to bring the kids in, and I think it's just all about rebuilding. It's about getting them ice time, and this is not this is an alarming trend if you're thinking that the Kings are going to compete now to get to the playoffs with Kovalchuk now.
I tell you, one of the things that I've kind of noticed is, you know, so hard, and now it's like you want to play the Pacific Division. Everybody's like not that good except for Calgary and San Jose, and I think San Jose is just a little bit away from getting kind of doing what Buffalo's doing. You know, that Buffalo just won 9 in a row, and if the Sharks go win 5, 6 in a row, 7 in a row, I think watch out. I think that's when they're going to start taking
separation
off, right? Yeah. And Calgary's just gritty and grindy, but you know, you got San Jose's issue is I just don't know if all those big guys have actually gelled together yet. You know, the goalie up there hasn't had a very good season. They're almost talking that the backup goalie is better than the starting goalie, but you know, the Ducks are down, they're hurt. The Kings are down, they're hurt. You know, the sophomore jinx with hockey and shut you out here and there.
They're back up around 500 now.
Yeah. But the Pacific Division, where I thought was going to be really competitive, it's like you want to come play us. You know, it's exactly. not that good actually. So, I don't know. Kind of, you know.
Yeah, let's see where things are in January, February. You know.
Exactly.
Yeah. For the Kings, it's you know it's Ontario rain is like that's what
I gotta go.
Like
I'm going December 4th, I think, or 5th, to see the Ducks play the Blackhawks.
Oh yeah.
With my wife, who's from Chicago.
Oh yeah. Take the
earplugs. I gotta go to this game, and it's gonna be a Blackhawks home game. It's a nightmare to deal with. Like JT Smith's across the street is all full of red jerseys. It's just I
have fun.
I look forward to because I think we might be competitive against them. But
Great.
Yeah.
You might need to stay home.
Yeah, okay. At December 5th. Yeah, you can go fill in for me. Bullpen Vince in. Yeah.
All right. If we don't have anything else,
that's it.
We are out.
Good night.
Peace.